Good morning, everyone. Oh, so sorry. It's quite loud. It is. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeannie, and I'm from Metis Consultants, and this is Lorna from RoadTrace. And this morning, we will be presenting to you on how we have used connected vehicle data into engineering action. So this project is a project which Metis has partnered with RoadTrace. Is a case study example of where we have assessed road safety risk of every street and every junction across our entire local network with the added lens of the connected vehicle data, which has really brought that proactive dimension to the analyses. The outcome of this project was a road safety action plan, which we developed to be in line with the wider transport objectives of the local authorities, but also to champion the Vision Zero strategy, which is to eliminate all KSIs by 2041. Now, as we all know, this is a monumental task that we all collectively have ahead of us. So what we sought to do was to develop a structured, strategic, and as much as possible, proactive approach to assessing road safety risk. It's one to balance known risks against potential future risks, ones that yields the greatest benefit with the limited resources that we have. So how do we do this? What you can see here is a timeline of what we follow, what unfolded. It was quite a tight delivery timeline because we had to adhere to the consultation scheduling, but that meant that data had to be collected quite promptly for us to then conduct the strategic assessment to understand where key hotspots are, to then further develop the road safety action plan. Now, in terms of the data, this was connected vehicle data that spanned 3 historic months. And because it's connected vehicle data, it meant that it could be pulled together quite quickly. And so we did that within a month, which is really good, after which the strategic assessment followed. I suppose if you were to do this as part of a regular ATC or speed service that you're more familiar with, that would mean a 3-month lead time before you do any sort of strategic assessment. And so that was quite useful for us. We'll now pass on to Lorna to talk about the data.
Okay, thanks, Jeannie. So just a few words on the background data that was used for the study. So how we're collecting the data. So first of all, at Aisin, we make sure that the data is good quality. So we're 24/7 ingesting vehicle data, and we make sure that we have the data across diverse vehicle brands. You can imagine if we're looking at driver behavior and we're just getting data from Toyota or just getting data from BMW, then we're not going to get a good representativity across different driving styles. So first of all, the ingest the quality data, then we will do the anomaly filtering. Also map matching is very important. So we're making sure that the GPS positioning that we're getting from the suppliers is mapped very precisely on the map and in the right driving direction. Because otherwise, if you're going to be making important decisions partly based on the data, then it needs to be very precise. Then what we're actually delivering to our customers is a couple of things. So you can have the option of what we call the enriched road safety events and mobility events. So you can have plotted on a map of your network all of the individual events, so you're getting a lot of data. Or the other option is for us to do some of the bespoke analysis on top of that. So we can deliver insights and analyses. So do the ranking and prioritization for you, risk assessment, clustering, and also add some contextual information. So by that, we mean exactly what average speeds people are driving at and how harshly they're braking, for example, in terms of harsh braking. So we're covering the whole spectrum in terms of the analysis of traffic flows, speeds, and harsh braking, harsh cornering, harsh acceleration events. So we can give you that either as CSV, so you can upload it into your current platforms, so you don't need to pay necessarily for extra platforms. We can also give you reports, so that is often desirable for you to share with your elected members and management. And then finally, we can also deliver through partners flexible user interfaces. So in this case, of course, we were delivering through Metis's platform. So that's what Jeannie's going to go on to present now, to how we did this for a London borough.
Thank you, Lorna. So just diving back to the assessment that we did then. So as Lorna said, we've got all that data that we've collected, and how that tied into our approach is this way. One, we wanted to be fully aligned with the Vision Zero strategy. Two, to be incredibly coordinated and transparent about the way we assess things. So we've set out the methodology on how road safety will be evaluated. Three, to be incredibly data-driven. So from this regard, we took into account collisions and KSI's data, because you can't overlook that. But also, we accounted for sort of the potential future risks, and that was done through the connector vehicle data, where we looked at harsh braking, driver behavior, speed profiles across the borough, as well as traffic flows across the borough. But beyond that, we have also looked into social factors as well as land use factors. So where there are levels of deprivation, that was taken into account as well, or proximity to schools, to bus routes, to cycle routes, and anywhere there's a crucial network feature. So all of that data was put together and used for the analyses, and out of which we then identify key hotspots where we know where the collisions are happening, who is getting hurt, and how we can address that. So this is an example out of the project that we have done. You can see the map in the middle is sort of where the priority sites have been identified. They've been classed. We've classed it based on three sort of levels: short-term, medium, and long-term delivery in terms of scheme complexity. The image on the left, so that is quite an interesting one. So it's a site that we have identified. You can see the cycle track runs the length of the entire road on the right-hand side. Now, further upstream, there's actually a really tight corner where cyclists were getting hurt because of low visibility. But what's interesting is that this section of the road and cycle track was also flagged because of harsh braking behavior. And so what we found was that because of this, it's likely that is either speeding or some combination of lack of traffic calming intervention that is occurring at this site, that is in close proximity of another known hotspot. And this insight was quite valuable because it sort of helped us understand the entire picture of where accidents are actually happening and are actually happening potentially in the road, become worse in the future as well. And that was really good for us to know. So if I just jump back in terms of the data that we looked at, so I've touched on collision, I touched on social values and land use. But in terms of the borough-wide data that we had to work with was the speed profiles, traffic flow, and harsh braking clusters across the network. And as Lorna has said, this was collected through automotive-grade connected vehicle data, where we've ingested vehicle sense data and did anomaly filtering to make sense of that data. Now, as I said, the added advantage is that the sample size was 3 months. So it was quite a long period of time where we can average it and know that it is statistically significant and stable as well. It's really great that it was really high density, granular, and network-wide, which added a lot of value when it comes to strategic analyses. So this is an example of the data that we have. So that's sort of the density of data that we have for the traffic flows, the speed profiles, as well as the harsh braking clusters across the network. So one of the outputs that came out of this analysis was an interactive dashboard. And so I talked a lot about sort of being transparent in the way that we have done this. And this is one way that we tried to convey that for the local council so that it is clear to them how road safety was evaluated. So you can see the sort of box in the middle is where we've listed out the score, the risk score of every street and every junction. I'm not sure if you can see, but there are multiple columns in there. So basically, we've also done it by we've evaluated casualty scores. So any street or junction that has a lot of vulnerable road users that are getting hurt, that will be flagged up and would score higher. We also have a separate column on network priority. So if it's an important street, whether because it's near a school or near a cycle route, that will be flagged up as well. And then also the harsh braking. So we take into account that driver behavior factor into our road safety analyses. And then you have other filtering options. So you have there, so you can choose whether it's if you want to see collisions that involve cyclists or pedestrians, and where, if any, links had traffic calming measures. So it did this for every road and every junction. And so again, if you're interested in sort of the higher risk score, there's something that you can apply a filter on, and it will highlight all the high priority scores junctions for you. Because we had speed profiles across the network, this was also a good way for us to isolate junctions that have observed speeding issues, whether it be a mean or the V85 speeds. And as I said, because we took into account the levels of deprivation, that was also something that you can filter out to sort of see where collisions are happening in those specific areas as well. So that was for every junction and every street. But if you did want to inspect the raw data as well, we did an analysis on that where you can sort of break it down by ward and understand at a local level what's actually happening on your roads. This was done over a period of 5 years. So there's 2019 to 2024, I want to say. So it's quite a lot of data that we have in there. And I think the great thing about the dashboard is that because it's set up this way, that as long as new data comes to light, it doesn't mean you just need to append it, and the calculations will just be done automatically, and you can always have a refreshed analysis ready for you. And lastly, the speed. We have a lot of speed data to work with from the connected vehicle data, which was really great. And you could see across the borough what the distribution is like. For this borough, it was very much 20 miles per hour everywhere. But obviously, there are key links where speed compliance is still an issue, and that was quite a useful insight for us. So just to sum it all up, this case study that we've worked together with RoadTrace is very much a proactive way for us to assess and to monitor road safety. We factored into account sort of the Vision Zero strategy to eliminate all KSIs by 2041, but also to be pragmatic and understanding that there's limited funding. So we want to set it up methodology in a way that is efficient and can be used in the longer term and still makes sense in the longer term. So yes, that's what we have to present. Thank you so much for listening. We're at stand 61 if you have any questions. But yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them now.